This was in my shoe. This piece of plastic. Well, it's been in there all day.
When I was a kid, I spent all of my time dreaming. And now that I'm an adult, I find myself looking back on those wild dreams and wondering, what would it look like to make those a reality? My name is Jared, this is me as a kid, and this journey we are about to go on is about figuring out how to make all of those crazy dreams happen.
Now, I'm gonna sound like a huge nerd when I say this, but growing up, I was really into Pokemon. And when I say growing up, I mean from when I was like 6 until... Well, let's just not get into that. When I say really into, I mean I was really into Pokemon. For my 6th birthday, I got a Game Boy Advance and Pokemon Blue version because it was the coolest looking thing in the store. And I literally played that cartridge to death. One day, I don't know, it was probably 4 or 5 years later, I went to get on and play some Pokemon Blue, boot up my old friends, and the game save literally would not load up. So I played it anyway. You know, I just, you know what? I'll start from scratch. It'll be fine. A couple days later, I went to play it again, and the game wouldn't even start. Needless to say, I was so into it that I killed it. And it was shortly after that that I bought the 2nd generation of Pokemon. So it all worked out in the end, but that's just a grasp of how into it I was.
So all in all, I think watching and playing Pokemon as a kid had a major part to play in the sense of adventure that I had, and that I still have. The entire point of being a Pokemon trainer was that you got to pack up and leave home and go across the country on this grand adventure to find, catch, train, and battle Pokemon. And that was a huge draw for me as a kid. I dreamed of one day packing up what I had and going on a grand trip across the country with nothing but what I had on my back and in my supply bag. I always dreamed of just living off the land and getting to see, you know, what the wilderness had to offer me. So one day, I had that thought. So I'd like to take a moment to explain, first of all, that I had every intention of reshooting this intro sequence. It's too dark, the autofocus isn't working because it's too dark, and generally the shot just kind of looks like garbage. But right after I shot this, the weather got really, really bad and made it kind of impossible to go back out and shoot this and for it to make sense with everything else. So this is kind of what you get. And for that, I'm sorry. What if I did just pack up a bag of supplies and go on a trip through the wilderness from town to town? Obviously, there wouldn't be any catching or training or battling or any Pokemon at all, really. But I just kind of wonder what that would look like. In light of what I've recently learned about my home state and the trails and the paths that surround it, it's looking like the towpath is going to be a safe bet for this trip, just like it was for the first one. And with the way the weather's turned, probably just going to have to stick to a day trip. But I think it'll still be fun. So I'll see you out there. All right, here we are again, out on the trail. Snow's coming down. It's a snowy day. I don't know if you can see it on my hair or anything. No, it hasn't really stuck to me. But you can see on the picnic table there that it has snowed quite a bit. Well, not quite a bit, but it's snowy, it's cold, which kind of leads to the decision to not camp and to just hike today. But, just outside of Massillon, heading north towards Canal Fulton and Akron, and we'll see where we can get to today. So there's the lovely Tuscarawas River behind me, and here we go.
Give me that sunshine, sunshine. Give me them good times, good times. Nothing but good vibes, good vibes. Give me that sunshine, sunshine.
So I'm moving down the trail. Got a little Cliff Bar here. Hey, do you want a Cliff Bar?
Yeah, sure.
Cliff! Got started a little later than I would have wanted to this morning. I had kind of planned to have a little bit more of a substantial breakfast out here on the trail, but one, I got here a little too late, and two, it's kind of cold, and kind of want to get myself warmed up before I do any serious like stopping. So this will have to do as I kind of am on my way, and we'll see how well that fuels me. I've got a few of them, so if I need them, I've got more. So yeah.
Sunshine, sunshine. Give me them good times, good times. Nothing but good vibes, good vibes. Give me that sunshine, sunshine.
I don't know what this bridge is, but it's blocked off from the rest of the road, and I don't know. It's cool looking.
Bring on the summertime. Bring on the summertime.
We are at Crystal Springs Park, which is, I don't know, here, let me, on the map, there's Bridgeport Quarry where we started, and there's Crystal Springs. So we've, almost 2 miles we've put in already this morning. Been on the trail for, I don't know, maybe an hour. So I don't know if that means we're making good time or not, but that is the time that we are making. So I'm gonna take a second and I'll grab one of these trail maps, probably head over to one of those benches or picnic tables over there, take a quick little water break, and yeah. So we're about 5 miles from Canal Fulton, which is one of the towns on the trail. Probably be the place, one of the next places we stop, maybe where we stop for lunch. We'll see. But yeah, so we've done about 2 miles in the first I don't know, hour or so. 5 miles to go until Canal Fulton, so another couple hours. But yeah, should be fun. Didn't really need this second map here, this Stark Parks map, but I'm gonna take it anyway.
I live in a city people wanna move into. I do all the things that people say they wanna do. But when the songs that we write don't shake the college student loans, everybody in town wants to move back home. Dark in the city, dark, dark in the city. Yeah, but there's a light on the inside, light on the inside. Dark in the city, dark, dark in the city. There's a little light on the inside, light on the inside.
So I just did some math, and we've done about, you guys have been along, but don't take this the wrong way, but you haven't done any of the work, really. But I've done about 4.2 miles in the first 2 hours that we've been out here, which is, I don't know, it seems like a good pace to me, but I don't know what a good pace actually is. I don't do this a lot. What that does mean, though, is that we've got 2.3 miles left to go until we get to Canal Fulton, which is means it's about an hour. We've got about an hour until we get to Canal Fulton. I know it seems like a really slow time to do the math, and you guys are probably way ahead of me, but it's cold out here. Everything's running a little bit slower, so. See you later, bud. So, made it to Lock 4. It's a little kind of like park area here. A lot of interesting stuff. I don't know if you've seen episode 1, but there was a lot of talk about locks. Lock talk, if you will. And we saw a lot of locks that day, but we didn't see any that were filled with water or functioning. Another observation, because I've been making a lot of those today, another observation that I made about this stretch of the canal is that it's filled. There's actually water in the canal, and you've probably seen plenty of that at this point. But I started getting closer to the lock, and I started thinking, well, if there's water in the canal, then the lock is probably semi-operational. You know, like it works to an extent, and so yeah, it's kind of exciting, I guess, in a historical kind of way. I don't know. I'll let you decide.
Feel it now every time I leave. It hits me hard and it cuts me deep. I'm 1,000 miles from happiness, 1,000 miles from you. It's a far reach from you to me. I feel the time and the space between.
All right. Over here, back in the park, under this pavilion. Get some lunch. There's a lot of very capable restaurants in town, but you know, a part of the draw of doing this is the kind of camping feel. And one of my favorite parts about watching the Pokemon cartoon on TV was Brock. And Brock would always cook for the group whenever they would be traveling. And so that was a big draw for me. And so it's kind of a part of the excitement of all this. So here's that.
Look old, my heart grows cold. I hear your voice, but I'm away from you. Your lips, they're dry from all your lines. I guess we tried, we were only children
Alright, so that's lunch. I'm gonna head up into town, see what's going on up there. So Canal Fulton is a quaint kind of small town vibe. It's got that historic feel, a lot of old buildings, but it's small, so there's not a whole lot to do, and it's kind of the middle of the week, so you know there's not a lot of it's slippery. There's not a whole lot of goings on, a lot happening. Not to mention it's winter, so a lot of stuff is kind of relaxed, and there's not a whole lot going on in a town like this. So it's a little disappointing that we weren't able to get into something, but in the end I think it was really cool to come here and just kind of get to experience that journey, the hiking through the wilderness and moving from town to town and kind of just seeing what happens and going off what you've got in the bag on your back. So
When only love can save.